Good morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator, John Becker. With us this morning, the man who controls the county of Knox, and that is Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Pleased to have you back with us. It's budget season. We've had the mayors in to talk about what they want to see. Your budget will have to go through county commission, but we're pleased to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let me introduce our panel. Don Bosch there on the end. He is a Democrat, runs his own law firm. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Good to be here.
And Eddie Smith is here, Republican and former state lawmaker. Nice to have you with us, Eddie.
Thank you. It's good to be here this morning.
Mayor, let me start with a headline because the Knox County Sheriff wanted to see bigger raises in this budget. You were offering deputies 8% raises. He would like to see that number at 30%. He calls this number that you have proposed dangerous. You say?
Well, I'm really proud of the support that we've given the sheriff's office since I've been mayor. My first year in office, they got a 6% raise. The next year was COVID and all salaries were frozen. However, they did get a $1,500 bonus. Next year, 5%. Last year, 6%. And then 5% year is also $4,500 bonus. And this year, we're proposing 8%. So over the years that I've been in office, that'd be 24% plus $6,000 in bonuses, which would equate to another 2.75%. Compare that to what the other county employees have gotten that work under my office, and it's 13% with $1,750. One of the issues that when I look at the sheriff's proposal is it's talk about retention and attraction of employees, but he's also proposing a 10% raise for captains and above. Many of them make $100,000 a year. So I'm trying to juxtapose or figure out, how does that lead to retention and attraction for patrol? Under the proposal that we have on the table, patrol would go next year to $48,399 per year. If you add in benefits, that's $63,303. It actually puts them slightly ahead of KPD, which has always been the bar before. It wasn't dangerous last year, and this year we've added 8% to that.
All right, we're going to dig into those specifics in just a minute, but let's pull out and show you the big picture because we want to show you where the money is coming from for this budget. We're going to show you a couple pie charts here. The first is on your screen now. These are the proposed revenues, and again, this is where the money's coming from. You see the bulk of it from property taxes, then you have local option taxes, and that TISA is actually public education money from both the state and the federal government. So that's where the money's coming from, the bulk of it for the county, at about $1 billion in this budget. Let's move to how the mayor wants to spend it. And you can see 66 cents of every dollar would go to public schools. That's the big orange dot in the middle. And then after that, it falls out to general fund and others. But Mayor, again, that's what you're proposing, and you think this is a good budget without a tax increase.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we don't have to do a tax increase again this year. We've seen revenue growth in sales tax. We're concerned going forward about the economy. Everybody's forecasting a recession, so we always want to be conservative. But we've seen property tax increase, we've seen sales tax increase, and with the state money coming in with the new funding formula, we've seen more money coming to schools.
When you say property tax increase, you actually mean property value.
Growth in our property tax due to more people.
Right. Some people on the left might want to take advantage of that, but I won't be that person.
We've seen an increase in the property tax fund.
That's right.
And Mayor, I want to go back because one of the things that I think gets missed in a lot of this discussion is, when COVID hit and those ARPA funds did come in, you made a proposal to the sheriff for, I think it was a $5,000 sign-on bonus for recruiting that he actually turned down, and now he's coming back asking for money in a different way. So, again, respect our law enforcement, respect our sheriff, but we've said no, and now we're saying please give us.
And obviously the sheriff's advocating for his troops, and I certainly understand that. But yes, we've done things like that. Also, the county now has maternity and paternity paid leave. Under federal law, you have to offer leave, and every other elected official and myself, of course, have participated in that. The sheriff declined to do that. And one of the things that when we talk about retention strategies, it's things like paid leave, sign-on bonuses, and those sort of things make a big difference.
So, Mayor, you touched on this just a moment ago, and we'll stay on law enforcement for a minute because this is something I follow and close to and sometimes involved in.
Obviously, yes.
And the sheriff has always said, and command staff for the sheriff's department, that they need this 30% to be equal to KPD, when in fact that's not the case. They are really equal at this point.
Yeah, well, with this 8%, they would exceed KPD by about $2,000 a year.
But now the rhetoric has changed a little bit, and we talked a little off air beforehand. The sheriff is really trying to compare salaries now to both private industry and other departments that pay better, that may be close. I know, for example, a few years ago, Gatlinburg PD used to be the sort of the standard and high pay. Are you seeing that change too? They're really trying to change the metric of who they're comparing themselves to?
Well, one thing is the county, the Tennessee County Services Association, they put out a report, and we're in the top 20% across the state for both collections pay as well as patrol pay. So we are competitive across the state, even more so here in East Tennessee. But one of the things that I'm seeing now is it's changed from KPD, compared to KPD, to Tennessee Highway Patrol. And also,
which is about $20,000 higher right now.
Right, and also the state has a lot of money, and it's a different job. But then also to the DOE complex and security there, which is the federal government.
Private security, contracted by the DOE.
Exactly, and that would be, the federal government can also print money. We can't do that. So it would be very difficult for us to be able to compete with them.
The sheriff has said that he is thinking about a lawsuit. Again, this will likely have to happen after commission says yes or no to the budget. As far as a court fight, Mayor, we have heard this may take weeks or months. What do you understand from your lawyers?
That it would be an expedited process, so they would try to get it done as quickly as possible. One thing we have to keep in mind is the property tax notices go out in late September. So if this would result, and the sheriff's actions were to result in a property tax increase, we would have to have those out by a certain point. If we don't do that, we would have to dip into we'd actually have to figure out what to do, because ordinance doesn't allow us to use our reserve funds for salaries.
Let me just ask you.
We just have to figure all that out.
Would this, if you lost in court and the sheriff won, would that, under you, trigger a property tax increase?
It would trigger potentially a property tax increase. If we could cut services under state law, I think we're only required to have 3 convenience centers. We have many more than that. We could look at libraries. We could look at senior centers. We could look at other taxes, perhaps the wheel tax. It would have a pretty big impact. He's talking about $13.5 million next.
So, Mayor, let's talk about that number, though.
Well, hang on. We've got to take a quick break. We can dive into that number.
I can't wait.
All right. We're back after